This is a great quote from Margaret Wheatley that helps us tie some of these strands together in our conception of value. And Margaret says this: leadership is a series of behaviours, not a role for heroes. And we've all met a few heroes, hey? So at the beginning of this series, we began looking at how value is conceived, how value can be contributed, and how value can be counted. And that we've spent much of the last few episodes looking at the conception of value. And it's those strands that I now want to tie together. So we've gone through 6 conceptions of value. The first of them was about valuing honesty. And why not, eh? What a great place to start. Tell the truth, without which nothing, basically. Then we spent some time talking about valuing transparency. So that we're not just about telling the truth, but telling the whole truth. You know, let's not cherry pick bits that suit our position. It's really quite unscientific to do that. And if you're looking for evidence-based policy, then you've got to deal with the whole truth, including the bits that don't quite line up with the way in which you're thinking about the world. And the way in which we think about the world draws on a need for mindfulness, right? And not in the meditative sense, however important that is, but being aware that everything that we do and say has a ripple effect, has an impact, that it spreads through our enterprise, through our relationships, and interacts and to drive the enterprise forward. And we've got to be mindful then of the whole enterprise that we're seeking to impact, not just that which is immediately around us. And given that mindfulness, we understand soon that we can't do it all. So therefore we spent a little time talking about valuing collaboration, right? So that we must build the capacity to working artfully together with others, without which big things will never happen. And we need a few big things to happen. But given that, then we need to value accountability, and not in the sense of finding someone to blame for when things go wrong, but actually looking back at our collaborative conversations and then asking ourselves, did I do what I said I'd do? And that is so much different from the normal ways in which we look at accountability. And then in our last episode, we spent some time looking at valuing respect. Because in this complex world, things will go wrong. So when people act accountably and tell you this, or they bring a counterpoint to a different level of perspectival and participatory knowing, then it's really important for us to show respect for them. The consequences of not showing respect, however, are really quite dire, because it is through that they'll find a regression to a behaviourist paradigm where the first casualties of not respecting people for what they're worth will be honesty and transparency. They will be lost rapidly. Then collaboration will fall and accountability will fall back to the blame game. Right, this is a relatively simple conception of value. It's about value in people. It's all about people. Leadership is all about people, and leadership begins with each of our behaviours. And it's a relevance that's applicable recursively from the individuals to all the way through leadership realms to international agency, from individual agency to international agency. And only when we realise this might we get to a position where any crisis, or even the meta-crisis, can be resolved with agency, for each of us becomes invested in the other, encouraging, caring, and enjoying each other's success as if it's our own. Now that's a conception of value that I would like to share and encourage you to think about how you conceive value in a way that builds those interdependencies, not a list on the wall. And in that way, we can change society one student at a time, and not just those that are on the campuses here today. It is, we are all students in the complex world that we're living in today. And if we can shift one student at a time, we can shift society at scale within a generation. I'd love to see that. We'll talk some more next week as we get on then to shifting from conception to contributing value. Take care. Have a great week.